In 1975, a 27-year-old Marumi Sasaki would write the book Yuki no Sancho, or Lost Chapter of Snow. Sasaki would enter their book to the 1975 20 million yen TV prize show. Sasaki would then find her story adapted for a movie by the accomplished director Shinji Somai, and have the main protagonist played by Yuki Saito of Skeibanteka fame. Lost Chapter of Snow was an important milestone for Saito, as this was her debut film role. Despite her experience from Skeibanteka, filming for the movie was going to be a much different experience. Iori Natsuki has always had a difficult background, never quite being in a home where she's been comfortable in. To put it simply, Iori goes through a lot of trauma and finds herself at the part of her life where she wants time to stop, but things around her move faster than she can think and act. But thanks to her adoptive father, Yuichi Hirose, played by Takaaki Enoki, who takes her into his custody and gives her a chance that she needs to breathe and walk forward. There's also Daisuke Tsushima, played by Masanori Sera, who acts like Iori's uncle, who keeps her looking straight ahead. Both Yuichi and Daisuke want the best for Iori, and the film hinges on their different methods of care and sacrifices for Iori's future.
Lost Chapter of Snow is a beautifully crafted film that doesn't focus on having a flashy premise to entice its viewers. When visuals complement the narrative in the way that Lost Chapter of Snow does, it starts to unblur the line between a pretty movie and art. It's not a flashy movie. It's not a fast-paced action movie, but even if it was, I truly believe that Shinji Somai's direction would have led to it still utilizing intricate practical effects. But getting hypotheticals out of the way, the pacing of the movie is by no means a weakness. If anything, it serves as a strength to accentuate the talented performances of the actors, the details of their habits, and what I consider to be one of the most powerful aspects of the movie, the set pieces. Namely, the curb, the boat, and the tree. So let's begin with the curb. Around 45 minutes into the movie, Iori is seen walking alone along the edge of a curb, playfully on the way from school. As she does so, a bully teases her. Her balancing act expresses her desire to stay innocent as she ignores the bully. It could also be a source of comfort, allowing her to reminisce her early childhood. In fact, the very beginning scene shows her performing the same balancing act. The curb itself is a very mundane setting for a seemingly insignificant scene, but it contrasts with that unique introduction scene in the snowy town. An important detail in this scene is that there's significant screen time spent after the bully rides away to show Iori's genuine discomfort. At one point, we see Iori fall from the curb. It could either be because of a street in the way, but it's more likely symbolizing her frustration. Moving on to the next scene that left a pretty big impact on me when it comes to this movie, the boat scene. Right before the boat scene, we get what would be considered one of the turning points of the movie, where it's raining with lots of dramatic dialogue between characters. The movie then fades into a transition shot showing nothing but snow falling. Then, the movie immediately cuts to a medium-sized boat in a harbor. This quick change in the weather conditions clearly represents a return to the calm after the storm. In this harbor scene, the setting's main focus is on this gently rocking boat. Iori and Daisuke share some dialogue that reveals their thoughts toward each other, a heart-to-heart, you could say. At one point, Iori is on the boat and Daisuke sits down separately. In this shot, Iori is diagonally above and talking down to Daisuke, while Daisuke continues talking to her. While it may not be intentional, it provides this feeling that no matter how close they are, there's always going to be some divide between them. Iori's literally on a ship that could potentially sail away from Daisuke. Last point I'll make about this scene are the colors. The boat has an exterior of a saturated blue and a pastel green interior. This continues that theme of calmness after the storm. You could even argue that Iori's bright outfit is designed to contrast with Daisuke's dark outfit purposefully. Finally, we can talk about what is admittedly my favorite scene from the movie, the sakura tree scene. When nighttime arrives, we find the three sitting together in a very calm state. Iori, brings up a sad memory, slightly bringing the mood down. Then, out of nowhere, she lightens the mood with a random exclamation and she bursts into a dance, something that she is known to do. The other two join her while shaking the tree. The Sakura tree scene explores the relationship and dynamic between the three main characters, despite everything that they've been through up until this point. I love this scene specifically because the snow motif finds itself lodged into this scene. It also really explores the small bits of joy that the three characters can find, especially with each other. While some of the other characters are obsessed with their work and even some family drama, these three just truly enjoy the smaller, more mundane things, and especially each other's company. Now I'd like to shift the focus to what drew me into the movie in the first place, and that is the 14-minute one-shot. Now, what is a one-shot? As the name implies, in a one-shot, you intentionally film a scene with a singular, continuous take. This creates new cinematic challenges compared to being able to focus on one shot at a time with mostly static scenery. One-shots are used for scenes with quickly changing elements, whether it's characters popping in and out of the frame or shifting the entire backdrop multiple times. Now to talk about how one-shots are filmed. To properly film a one-shot, actors need to be consistent and pace their lines and movements. They go through multiple rehearsals to make sure that the camera crew gets the right shots without breaks. Nowadays, one-shots are getting more popular, with movies like 1917 and the show The Bear, which has a 20-minute one-shot. They often use techniques like blocking, long focal lengths, drastic changes in lighting, and post-production editing to sell the look of a one-shot. Modern rigs even allow pre-programmed camera movement, along with easily accessible mechanical and digital stabilization. Lost Chapter of Snow, Passion's one shot was completely handheld, albeit with some mechanical stabilization, using a wide focal length. This means that each prop, actor, and film crew member had to be extra mindful of what the camera captured as it moved. You can see some of the techniques I previously mentioned used here, such as blocking, that are still used today. I'm just really impressed by this movie, literally starting off with a one-shot. But actually, the most impressive detail of this one-shot will always astound me. And that's that the main actress was a child. Props to her. The name of the little girl in the 14-minute one-shot is Mami Nakasato. But let's continue with how this 14-minute one-shot is used as a storytelling tool. You see, there's one way that one-shots have been used that I particularly enjoy the most, and it's a way that I feel is the biggest strength that these unique shots can potentially have. That's when one-shots are used as a tool for storytelling. One-shots have sometimes been used for showing the progression of someone's life. In Lost Chapter of Snow, Passion, it's clear that the events within the duration of the one-shot take place over the course of more than a day. We see the way that Iori is introduced to the area and how certain characters feel about her. It's just amazing to see Iori grow in small ways without ever cutting attention to a different shot.
Born on January 5th, 1956 in the Isa district of Kagoshima, Enoki was an actor and an artist. While passionate about art, so much so at the time that Enoki attended Musashino Art University, he left art school to join the Shiki Theater Company in 1978, which was one of the biggest and largest theater companies in Japan. Enoki was praised for his theatrical prowess, picking up performing pretty quickly. Despite this, he left the theater in 1983 to have more freedom and more variety of work. He would star in NHK's morning drama Romansu as the main character. Because of that role, he'd win Newcomer of the Year from the Motion Picture and Television Producers Associations of Japan. It's easy to see from these early successes that he'd eventually get the role of Yuichi in Lost Chapter of Snow. Nowadays, Enoki has a casual YouTube channel, Enoki ta Aki no Ima o Ikuru. He also does horseback riding and watercolor paints, so much so that he has his own gallery in Isao City, Kagoshima, and Yoshiki Urehara, Tokyo, with 25 paintings each with their own descriptions. Born in Hiroshima on December 14, 1955, Sarah grew up playing violin for most of his life as early as 3 years old. Though, the moment Sarah heard the Rolling Stones painted black, he was completely captivated, leading him to listen to tons of foreign rock. At 13, he would pick up the guitar and join a band in high school. Inspired by Rod Stewart, he switched to being the band's vocalist while studying at Osaka University of Arts with him and his bandmates, formerly named Twist. Twist in November 1978 would win the Grand Prix of the Yamaha Popular Song Contest, known as Popocon, and the World Song Festival with the song Your Ballad. Despite these successes, after college, all the members no longer pursued music professionally, except for Sarah and Muneyuki Kamimoto, who would continue Twist's legacy as Masanori Sera and Twist. Sarah on stage was described as having full, dynamic movements using his entire body. He still releases albums to this day, continuing his passion to make music. Sarah's acting range was said to be a strong point among those who worked with him, saying that he was great at depicting a lighthearted character or even a profound and troubled one, and Sarah only ever improved with each role he found himself in. Due to Saito being an idol, it was only natural for her to lend her voice for a song made for the movie. Kazuhiro Nagaoka was tasked with creating a song with Saito that not only breathed life into the movie, that would be a standalone song outside of its context. Nagaoka began working with Saito to create what would become Jonetsu. Jonetsu is about a girl seeing her lover off to college, as her lover will be studying in a university in the city. The singer, who's desperate for her lover to stay, stands up to the train window, hand pressed up against it, her hand longing to reach to the window to hold their hand. With only a few inches of glass separating their hands, the singer and her lover give each other their farewell through their eye contact. And while it was actually her idea to get them to study in the city, she regretted saying anything as the train takes their lover away from her. She wishes that she hated them, so that she couldn't feel the sadness that she does now. But to do that would be to bury her feelings into the snow. She struggled to find a way to cope with this sadness, strangely passionate about her lover in this backwards way. The single sold 178,000 copies and was released as a mini CD later in 1988. The song would also be used in commercials for the Axia brand cassette tapes from Fujifilm in Japan. The song placed third on the Oricon Weekly chart at the time, and the song lyrics were done by Takashi Matsumoto, with the composition done by Kyohei Miyohira, and the arrangement done by Takabe Satoshi. Director Shinji Somai was born in Morioka City on January 13, 1948. Somai was a director who had a knack for creating genuine performances out of those he worked with. He simply believed that actors could not act if they wanted to. Rather, that he as a director had to simply direct people to simply present themselves with action. Despite how this sounds, Somai truly did believe that anybody could act. It was just a matter of how to get them to embody a character. Here's a passage from an interview talking about Somai's unique directing style. Sometimes Somai makes actors do things that don't seem necessary when acting out a scene. Somai had this to say: "There are times when I'm pressuring myself to perform well that I hesitate. I guess you could say I'm at a dead end. When that happens, I need a change of pace." Which is true for everyone here, but especially for me. When I heard Somai say this, his way of making actors do something completely unexpected is actually a way of freeing them from that hesitation. Where actors normally would wait for their turn to speak and do what was expected of them, Somai was giving actors loose ideas of what to do, like dancing while speaking. This would create a sort of candidness into their performances, since actors are no longer acting. They are simply doing something. In other words, they are performing. This would add nuance to their character. In our day-to-day lives, people nonchalantly move ways that don't bring attention to themselves, but can say a lot about them when you consider the quirks of their character. When taking a phone call, one person may walk around in circles, while another one lies on a bed. It's things like these that people unconsciously remember about you, and ultimately say a lot about your character than you can say for yourself. Actions speak louder than words, after all. Somai was famous for understanding the importance of bringing this nuance in front of the camera. Somai was also known for subjecting the actors he worked with thorough rehearsals and multiple takes. This would create long filming periods and create tension between the actors, film crew, and other staff to get each scene just right. This pressure Somai brought, whether on purpose or not, would tire out the actors in such a way that Somai believed that the actors would stop decorating themselves and their true selves would show. Their performance was no longer their characters, but rather their own. Somai sought to create character, not actors, and not giving strict directions on how to act and putting people in real scenarios with real pressure would breathe the character to life in someone, so that each and every actor would move and speak their lines with their own physiology. Somai would pass away at the age 53. The funeral was held at Tsukiji Honganji Temple on September 14th. He was buried in his ancestral grave, and a synagogue under his name was erected in the same district. The 13th anniversary of his death, the town office and others held a Shinobukai memorial service with about 70 people attending. The following year, in 2014, the festival developed into the Shinji Somai Film Festival, with screenings of his movies and stories told by the actors and actresses involved with them. Somai was adamant with having actors and actresses' performances be felt rather than seen. In terms of coming-of-age stories, Iori's journey between her childhood and adulthood was undoubtedly rocky. Iori didn't have the privileges of being a child protecting her with a rough upbringing, and now the stresses of adulthood have come. In a way, Iori and Saito are similar. Saito had to experience Somai's rigorous directing with repetitive and vague instructions, forcing her to stay on her toes. While she had experience with TV drama, she was still new to acting in the movie world, but the movie that she was starring in had a notably stronger and tighter vision. This is on top of juggling her idol responsibilities. Saito, through her experience with Lost Chapter of Snow, simply had this to say: "I've learned a lot. It made me realize how naive I was about movies." Much like Iori, Saito had grown a lot due to her pressures of her career, and what resulted was seen as diamonds. People took notice quickly. Nagaoka had this to say after working with Saito for Jonatsu: "When I first met her, she was dressed in pure white and staring at me with dark eyes. I also remembered that the words that she spoke and the expression on her face seemed clear and cold to me. I have been working with her for what has been about a year now. From start to present, we have left our mark by releasing several records. But when I think about it, I can hardly remember my time with her. It's weird. The only thing that comes to mind is the image of a girl who always sings hard into the microphone. I can't help but applaud her though, always trying her best to sing into the microphone. And this is what I had been secretly admiring in the corner of my heart while working with her. Truthfully, I can't help but get a little nervous looking at her directly. Despite this uneasiness, it's easy to hear her voice in the hearts of the people. I envy her as someone who can easily enter into people's hearts. The other day, I went to the set of the movie. I saw her surrounded by lighting equipment in a large set. No one knows how she was feeling when she was working on this film. But I know, just by her appearance and the way she spoke her lines on set, was the essence of a sunset. The reddish glow of the sunset that accented her figure. It made me feel as if she was a different person. As one of the witnesses, I am certain, albeit regretfully, admit that her silhouette moved my heart more than the songs that we made. I'm sure that it was because of her image. Someone who was so devoted to creating a finished product. I discovered what made her so special in people's minds. Despite the tough filming sessions and pressure from the public of her fans, in anticipation for her first movie role, Saito had given a performance that was uniquely hers due to her specific position as an idol and actress. Somai had said that if you don't think and worry about the same things as your character, you cannot move people's hearts. Perhaps Saito going through her personal transition to a young up-and-coming actress to a proper experienced actress and juggling her idol responsibilities at the same time led to her performance as Iori, as both Saito and Iori were both girls who couldn't seem to catch a break. Through Lost Chapter of Snow, Iori and Saito shed their adolescence and were born anew, with the proper balance to walk on the ever-bouncing tightrope of their lives.